Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 1.353. It is April 30th, 2018. It is Beltane Eve. Of course, Beltane being May Day. It's tomorrow, so I wish everyone a happy Beltane. But also just to check in with kind of a general update. Not making videos as much as frequently, which to me is good news. That means that life is progressing and not a whole lot to drama, not a whole lot to talk about. So I'm a firm believer in no news is good news. So find a comfortable place to sit. So where are we at? Today is we're in week 5 of my surgery. So let's get to that. Chestnut. We'll get to that topic. Lots of stuff going on. What is life like 5 weeks after having GCS? I can almost cross my legs. I realized this last night at the ritual for Beltane. I can almost cross my legs. I can almost sit ladylike again, which is cool. I do wear pads during the day, and these are like the day version, and then I wear a thicker version at night. I got some good advice about that, but during the day I'm changing these about every I'd say every 2 hours I'm changing these, and unlike pads that you use, give me a sec, bear with. These are my nighttime pads. Ooh, that is thicker. This is my nighttime pad. And of course, if you're menstruating, you can say, hey, girlfriend, you don't need the thicker. You can do the thinner, okay? And here's why we use the pad, okay, GCS, post-op. It's not because of blood. It's because of the liquid that comes out. And it's going to be, like everything else, highly varies on your surgery. In your body, but my body produces a lot of liquid, and so that's basically what those pads absorb during the day is the liquid. Okay, it's not blood, it's not gross in that way. It's just I have a lot of tissue, and as a big lady, a big girl, a lot of tissue, and I would say within the last week, what has definitely been different is stink. I smell down below, and not fishy smell. Just it's this like icky, just something's off smell, like rotten cottage cheese smell. And what it is it's the tissue and whatnot that is being recycled by my body. Okay, and I think I had talked about that in a previous video. Your body, after going through the balloon animal stage, and as the tissue has been moved around and whatnot, it gets regenerated, and the excess tissue, if it was externally outside your body, you would have a scab or something, and you could pick it off and whatever. Not to gross you out too much, but this is inside of you. This is this cavity, okay? It used to be like this, and now it's like this, okay? So here you have this tissue and whatnot, and, what's happened is it's now closing up. And so this excess tissue, like I said, if it was a scab or whatnot, pew, it'd come right out. Well, inside your body doesn't do that. Your body's like, hey, recycle. And so it breaks it down, the tissue, and as we're mostly water, okay, yes, there is some ejection of matter, but mostly it's water, okay, as the body breaks it down, I guess, just the way it is, and, there's always at the base down here near my perineum, okay, if my perineum was down here, there's just this trickle of fluid, okay, and it smells really bad. And so that's what these pads do. It's not really blood. And that's what I've noticed within the last week, is that it is stinky. Very, very stinky, which I'm assuming is a symbol of, or a indication of, hang on, I got a cat coming in, an indication of just healing is happening at a quicker, just healing, and my body is discharging. Like I said, it's not gross, it's not like pus, it's just little flecks of extra skin and the liquid that comes out of it. So, but like I said, it does smell bad. It does stink really, really bad. And it reminded me somewhat of a newborn baby. Their poop doesn't smell for like the first month. And then like the second month, your baby's poop starts to smell. And you're like, oh my gosh, when did smell? God, why did you put poop and you smell into the poop? Okay. So that's that. So that's kind of something else we've been. The other thing I will share with you from my thing is, initially surgery was, you had, it looked like the inside of your vagina, okay, had all these bumps and ridges, look like little brain or whatnot. Well, as it's healed, it's condensing and it's closing, okay, and it reminds me of a seashell. If you look at a conch seashell, the really smooth, like one side will be really, really smooth and it curves inward, okay, as it wraps around the spiral. And that's what it reminds me of. And so one of my labia majora is actually like, if, originally they were like this, okay, and what's happened is this one is slowly like turning in on itself like that, okay. So this is what was outside is now going in. And so, of course, all this like bumpy, fleshy shit is now inside the vagina, okay? And it's condensing. And like I said, it's going through that process of recycling tissue and water's coming out, but you can't see it, okay? Now, the other side, for me, is like Frankenstein, and it is still open. So it looks a little gross. I'm not going to show you. However, I'm going to talk about it. So this side is all funky and shit and has the brain coral look to it as the tissue is going through. Like I said, it's recycling, but it's visible. And my hope is, again, that this will also, like this one's turned in, and my hope is this one eventually will turn in. And I'm almost thinking by design, she left a little thing here that's keeping it kind of propped open. I can do this right. Okay, there we go. And again, that's where this liquid is coming out that the pads capture. Okay, and again, throughout the course of the night, I totally fill up a big ass maxi pad, okay, of liquid. That's all it is. It's just like sweat, okay? Just really stinky sweat. So that's that. The other thing I've noticed in the last, I'd say, week is that little vagina is getting smaller. Again, as these big ass tissues, as they are coming in and consolidating and tightening up, the happy hole is becoming a teeny tiny hole as opposed to a big happy hole. And in the morning, especially the first dilation, I mean, it's like, you imagine you're like, I have to get this dilator in there, but it is so tight and it hurts. And then in the afternoon, you're like, give me the big one, yeah, it fits right in there, So, there's definitely a difference between the first dilation of the day and, like, let's say the third, the fourth, and the fifth. The second one is still a little shoehorny. Give me a shoehorn. Give me the jaws of life to open it back up. So I will share that with you. The other thing I've noticed, when I went to the doctor 2 weeks ago, she had looked at me and said, she didn't go, oh my God. She looked at me and was like, oh, everything's progressing. Everything's coming along real good. Let me get some of that drainage. And she had a word for it. I'm going to call it slop, but I don't think that was it. It's schmutz would be a good Yiddish word for it. But again, that dross. It's not pus, it's just the skin. It's that extra skin. It's yellow and it stinks. And so she took a bit of gauze, and she just held it up against it, Maybe she wiggled it. I don't know what she did. She walked away and there was just gooples of it on there. Not to gross you out, but hey, if you want to know what it's like, I'm telling you the truth, as it happened to me. Yesterday, after my 5th dilation, and I took a shower, I was like, you know what? Since I'm going to go to the ritual and I don't want to stink, I'm going to take one of the gauze pads, fold it in half, like a taco, and just gently slide it into the happy hole area, the between the labia. Okay, between the labia. And I went ahead and got dressed. I did my makeup. I got everything. And then that was my thing. Is the last thing I was going to do was to drop skirt and pull this thing out and throw it away. Okay. And assuming that it would be like my pad, just full of water, right? And unfortunately, it was not. It was blood. Basically, the whole damn thing was full of blood. And that freaked me out for a good minute or two. And after I threw it away and washed my hands real good and everything, I put a fresh pad on. I thought about how, again, as part of healing, the healing process, and we talked about the icky brain coral and, how lumpy and bumpy it was. As it's consolidating and becoming more dense and whatnot, I imagine the mechanical action of sticking this huge ass piece of plastic, okay, and try to wedge it in there as far as you can get it to go and hold it and everything. I think it's just, number one, it's creating a little bit of friction, okay, but it's the mechanical action that is also going to stimulate that sloshy, schmutzy stuff to come out. And so when that comes out, underneath you've got young skin, you've got new skin. And I think that's where the blood was coming from. It was just the boundary between the old skin that was being recycled and the fresh skin underneath. And so I had a good 20 minutes of freak out. And then I said, you know what? This has probably been going on the whole time. Here I am mechanically agitating my vagina, and it just so happens I caught it. I mean, otherwise the body would have captured it, recycled it, done whatever it's going to do. My pad, when I got home later, was totally blank except for the clear fluid, the schmutz, okay? So it's not like I continued to bleed or whatnot. But that's not to dismiss if you are in your post-surgical process and your pad is bloody, or you do what I did and it's bloody. Please don't dismiss that lightheartedly. If you feel like you need to talk to your surgeon, please do. I kind of watched it, and the following 2 or 3 pads were clean other than the schmutz and slog, whatever it was. And so I was like, well, okay, I'm not bleeding profusely. God forbid I, as part of doing the pressing against the tissue, I didn't puncture through the wall of my vagina. And, again, your imagination kind of runs away with you. I'm still alive. Okay. And truth be told, cis girls bleed and shed skin, and they're still alive as part of their period, their menstruation. So again, not to dismiss it. If you feel concerned, definitely go see your doctor. Okay, God forbid you or me, we puncture, we do something wrong, and we're bleeding. I'd rather err on safety. But I will share that with you. Again, as I was getting ready for the Beltane ritual last night, I'm sitting there going, here I am bleeding. Athena, thank you for showing me, but did I do something wrong? Anyway. So that's that. As far as surgery goes, I can't really say anything else other than to sum up and just say things are progressing. Things are happening. I can definitely sit longer. I can do more. But I still have a time limit. When I am tired, I need to lay down, etc. And in light of what happened last night with the bleeding and everything, it really made me thankful that I still have 2 weeks of time off. Okay? Makes me realize, hey, I'm glad I didn't go back to work last week because I need the rest time. I need the recouping time. I'm not done yet. I'm not at 100% yet. So I'll share that with you. And that's really it as far as surgery goes. So that's that. The next what's happening topic somewhat is trying to get out a little bit, not necessarily surgical related, but as part of my transition. I hate to think of it as my transition. I feel like I'm transitioned. I shouldn't have to say transitioning because I feel like I am transitioned with a period at the end of it, no pun intended. But as part of fill in the blank, I really am trying to widen my horizon, widen my sphere of influence, widen my circle of friends, trying to get out and do different things. And someone had made a post, and I apologize, I'm going to say it was Melissa, made a post on their Facebook page about, they had begun to realize that, I'm trying to get this right. They were in somewhat of an echo chamber on Facebook. All of their friends were transgender. They were transgender. They were, talking and whatnot, and that's all they talked about. Okay. So in that light, I really have tried to get out of my shell, my bubble, as it were. And this last Saturday, went over. I was invited from Amber, and thank you, Amber, to go to a board game day, and it was an attempt to get out of this bubble that I'm in, to meet people. And I didn't know who was going to be there. There was someone there I didn't know. He had to leave early before I got a chance to kind of get to know him or talk to him or whatnot. But that's kind of what I am focused on going forward. The Louisville Game Shop has a board game night. Heroes, another game shop, has a board game night. I really feel like I need to be, as long as I have the stamina for it, and every week, every day, I get more stamina. Knock on plastic. To take those opportunities to get to meet other people, non-transgender, non-gay, and it's not to mean I'm not gonna like meet someone and say, "Are you gay?" Well, I can't be friends with you, but just to get out of my shell, as it were. Again, this bubble, this safety bubble that I'm in. That's kind of going to be my new MO. It's going to be my new modus operandi. Just trying to expand my horizons and get out of this bubble that I'm in, my life. And that was the next topic was going to the Beltane ritual. I kind of stumbled on it by accident, and basically was I hate to call it a coven because it's not a coven, but a group of like-minded pagans at a church, in Louisville. And I went and I met, I'd say about 16 new people. And I had never met before, obviously did not know any of them, first time meeting them, getting to know, socialize a little bit. We obviously did the ritual for Beltane and danced around a maypole and socialized, and then we had a potluck supper afterwards and just listened and visited and interacted as best I could. And that's part of what I'm trying to do now, is to get out. Like I said, I'm repeating myself and I do apologize, but get out of my safety environment. Not to say to be unsafe, but to do things I've never done before that I've been interested in. Okay, drumming would be another thing. If I could find a drummer to teach me how to drum that I'd never met before. Obviously, you want to be safe. You don't want to go to an unsafe place. But again, like last night was at a church. It's weird for a group of witches to meet in front of a group of witches to meet in a church. I will say that. But again, meeting new people and making new connections. It was a bit of a stretch for me. Both of these things were a bit of a stretch for me. I'm definitely more of a wallflower. And I thought it was interesting as I was driving home and I looked at myself in the mirror. When I first got there, I felt very light on my feet and almost, I don't think I went out of my way to, and again, I'm going to use some words here it's going to make me cringe. You ready? Okay, deep breath. Okay. I didn't go out of my way to pass. That's one cringe-worthy word. We need to get rid of that word from our vocabulary, but you know what I mean. I didn't try to make myself fit in. I didn't show up and go, "Oh, it's so very nice to meet you. My name is Karen, and I am a solitary witch." Or, "Hi, it's so very nice to meet you. And your name is?" Oh, I didn't do that. Okay, I just went in and said, "Hello, what I just did, hello, I'm very nice to meet you. My name is Karen. And your name is? And what do you do?" I mean, it was that social, what do you do for a living? And by the time I left, yes, I knew about 10 people's, I take into account my age. I knew 6 people when I left, their names. And would feel comfortable seeing them on the street or in the grocery store or wherever on the astral plane and to talk with them. But then I noticed by the end of the evening, I felt like my voice was very, very deep. It was very nice to meet you. And it's not my voice either. But you know what I mean. I felt heavy, whereas the beginning of the evening, I felt light and airy, and I'm a fairy. Ooh. By the end of the evening, I felt somewhat stoic. And maybe I had used up all of my conversational crystals. I don't know. But as I was driving home, and here's where we get into this conversation for the channel here, is I wondered what other people thought about me. Usually I think a successful plan for transitioning is to kind of give a big fuck you to the world. Okay? I don't care what other people think about me. I'm not here to pass. Cringeworthy word again. I'm not here to fit someone else's expectation of what it is to be a woman. Okay? But as I was driving home, I was curious how I appeared to other people. Not to say I'm egotistical, but how did they see me? And obviously, I imagine as a quasi-tight-knit group who is looking for new members, potentially for a coven, perhaps, or whatnot, what did they have any conversation about me after I left? And that's where my ego meets my fear, my id, maybe, I don't know. My fear center, my little voice in the back of my head that's like, "You didn't pass." Or, they're talking about you. Or, did they say something about that Karen that's just off? Did you see Karen's hands, how big they were, and her wrists? I think that's a man. Okay. All of that bullshit. That, again, normally we can give a big fuck you to. Both barrels at that. Okay, to the world around us. But I was curious about, what did they think about when I left? That kind of echoed in my head. And, obviously, let me make a statement that's going to probably get me into hot water. A cis woman can get out of bed, not put any makeup on, not care how she looks, put on an old t-shirt and an old ratty pair of jeans and a pair of flip-flops. And she is a woman. Okay? No argument. In the same way that I could do the same thing, but I don't do that. I do care about my nails. Okay? I do care earrings and presentation and makeup even, obviously. I wouldn't leave my house in that state, okay? And I just came from the nail salon. My artificial nails were too long. It had been like 3 weeks since I had gotten them done, and they were getting too long. I couldn't type. I couldn't mess with my hair. I mean, so I had to get them done. And, as I walk into the salon, I've curled my hair and my makeup is okay, and I felt very effeminate, etc., etc. I'm getting my nails done, right? And to the right of me is a woman who has her hair back in like a plastic, looks like banana comb, like Geordie LaForge used to wear. She's chewing gum, and she's wearing a cutoff, like New York, LA Dodgers t-shirt, okay, and cutoffs, and she's getting her a pedicure, okay. And then to my left, the girl comes in and she's got sunglasses on, and an old ratty t-shirt and jean shorts too. And I'm sitting here going, am I making a mistake by caring about my appearance and how I seem to be? And the answer is no. I mean, there's quite a variety of women out there, okay? But it made me like self-conscious. And again, I was thinking about last night, even at the ritual, there were some people there who dressed up for it, some people who didn't. And, some of them, I think, put a lot of attention into their garb and their costuming. And again, it's ritual, it's performance to a certain degree. But and I walk with a long flowing blue skirt. I'm wearing sneakers. I'm sure my striped socks clashed with my floral pattern, and it just made me laugh about perhaps the variety of life, the variety of women and people and whatnot. So maybe I am just full of shit today. But like I said, I thought about, what did they think when I left? And, did they talk about me when I left? Were they trying to figure out who and what I was? Don't know. So that was new. But like I said, I'm trying to meet new people. And I guess, again, I'm wondering, now I'm looking for feedback, and I'm curious. I don't know if I would take that feedback. If someone was to say, Karen, dial back the lipstick and, don't do mascara. You don't need it. Or, you know what I mean? It's like, I would kind of, again, give a big fuck you to that as well. So, but it interests me. And I don't consider myself into fashion. I don't give a shit what's on any magazine cover. It's whatever I feel like that day. I have the freedom to do or not do. But it did get a chuckle from me today as I was watching at the nail salon. So that's that. What else is going on? Not necessarily related to surgery, but it as an offshoot of surgery is I really do, and I'm going to say this too. You ready? You have a beverage, please don't keep it in your mouth. You might do a spit take. Okay. Ready? I really miss masturbating, okay? And that's not to say I miss having a penis, because I don't. But it has been 5-6 weeks since I have masturbated, okay? And I don't I don't think of it as penis ejaculation or whatnot, just that sense of sexual release. And I can see, as I've mentioned recently or a couple of videos, I can see that is going to happen. It is going to happen. Everything is healing and whatnot. And yesterday, as I was on the third dilator, and I lubed it up and I had some issue getting it in the hole, I was stimulated by it. Okay, and if you think about it, your outer labia after GCS is your erectile tissue, your penile tissue, penile tissue. And so, or yeah, I think. And so to have this wet penis-shaped object, I mean, I got stimulated, and you know, you can only go so much. I can only go so much right now because of the tissue that's healing. And like I said, the other skin that is being recycled, and so it's in like this quasi-hardened, silly putty state. So it's not really the most erotic. It's definitely not erotic to look at, okay? But it's just not, it doesn't quite feel erotic either. And of course, I had my long-ass fingernails, so I couldn't feel anything. But you know, that would be something. That's something that I did not expect. Going into knowing a little bit about the depression, the post-op depression. But I would definitely add to that list of things that would be on the lookout for post-op depression is the inability to masturbate. And maybe on a bigger scale, it's sexual fulfillment. Okay, if we can equate masturbation with sexual fulfillment, at least stimulation, but that is definitely something that I am just not getting, and I miss it. And I look forward to the day when I will get sexually stimulated. You know, it's a bit of a two-ended sword right now because you know, you would think again as part of the dilation you would get some sort of get a rise out of you, and for me it stimulates the area by blood, and so then it contracts, and so then I can't dilate like I should be able to, so then I get mad at myself and I get excited, and I call them phantom erections because there's nothing there to erect. But that tissue has been, you know, scattered and splattered and covered and smothered and sewed, you know, disassembled and reassembled in a different configuration. And so, you know, to get stimulated and you feel like, oh, it feels like my testicle or whatnot. And you're like, well, but you don't have a testicle anymore. You know, half of your left testicle skin is over here, and then 3/4 is over here, and 9/8 is wrapped around this over here. So it's like really fucking weird. Pardon my French. It's really weird to like run your finger or your fingernail over part of what was your scrotum or your penile shaft or whatnot. And now it's like, you know, your body's confused. You know, it hasn't quite figured out what goes where, you know. So anyway. All right, well, long diatribe today, but just kind of general updates. Tomorrow is May 1st, obviously. Talked about Beltane. Which means I am just about 2 weeks away from being on hormones for 2 years. So, yay me. And that really is just about it. So I am overdue for dilation, so that's going to be my next thing to do. I can't think of anything else. I may have missed something, but those were like some things that were on my mind. It definitely a little bit of the appearance, a little bit of wondering what other people in a new group of people. Here I am trying to introduce myself and establish myself in a post-op world, and trying to wonder, what did they think, and you could cut a bridge between the two items, the sexuality and the new people. If I'm going to have sex with somebody, I'm probably going to meet them at one of these new these new outreach things, right? I mean, maybe statistically, probability, I'm not going to meet them by sitting here in my chair with the kitty cat on my lap. And I may never, and I guess that is, that was my concern when I was 20 years old. I'm never going to meet anybody and whatnot, but I will gladly take a mechanical vibrator at this point. But, this is where we're at. This journey's not over yet. I never thought it would be over. It's just the next phase, I guess, which we knew. We knew it was not going to be over. We knew there was going to be other things to crop up, and 5 weeks post surgery. I think in like 2 weeks is when I should be able to masturbate a little bit. So I just got to hang in there. Be patient, right? Okay. All right, my friends. I appreciate the bandwidth, and I wish you good luck in your own journey, in your own transition, and I wish you the best of luck in becoming the best version of yourself as you define it, okay? Regardless of how you look or you want to look, or regardless of how you dress or you want to dress, your presentation, okay? Wish you the best of luck. Amber did this really cool video too from Mulan, the movie, with Christina Aguilera singing a song, and it really touched my heart about the reflection. And they shot the video all at Epcot's China. If you're a fan of Epcot and you've ever been to the World Showcase and you've been to China, you will notice very quickly that most of that video was shot at China in Epcot. So, but again, the idea of asking a question, when will the external match? When will my reflection match the internal, my authentic self? It's a pretty powerful video. It got me crying. So, all right, my friends. Till next time. Good luck. Bye bye. There it goes. Bye bye.